in your neighborhood, alerting you faster than ever when severe storms are heading your way.
All right. Hey, are we live? Are we out there? Hello, 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 hello. Hey, I'm Mark Collins. It's Weather Authority Weekday. It is a Friday. Friday. And this weekend is going to be much better than last weekend. We've been dealing with these like periodic nor'easters. Now, don't yell at me. If you're from Boston, you're talking about nor'easters. That's a real baroclinic low pressure center that thrives off of the warm contrasting waters of the Gulf Stream and the cold air that moves off the northeastern coast. Well, we're seeing our own local nor'easter, and that's just a strong northeast wind, not really due to those processes. Before I geek out, yeah, we're not going to be dealing with that nor'easter this weekend like what we had next weekend, but I'm going to be talking about the next one that forms Tuesday and Wednesday, and then possibly into next weekend. And we're also going to be talking about invest number 91, some good news there. But first, let's focus on the great weather in our backyards, because we are looking at this nice weather all day Friday, all day Saturday, and it'll start to bring back some rain into the outlook as we head into a Sunday with some scattered showers. Why would the rain come in on Sunday? Cold fronts? Yeah, you guessed it. Cold fronts here in September. All right, so outside, well, it's nice now. We've got temperatures starting out in the morning in the 70s. We're going to wind up around 92 degrees later in the afternoon. Now, it's not that bad, right? We've been in the 90s pretty much all summer long, but we don't have the humidity that we've had here this past summer. In fact, the air is so dry that that's part of the reason why we don't have much cloud cover over us, as you see here. Clouds are pretty much non-existent. There are a few fair weather cumulus clouds that will be building over land, but most of the rain is locked up over the Bahamas with that trough line. And then there's some thunderstorms that are pushing in through the Keys. Now that front is going to stay across central Florida the next couple of days, which will be the best location for seeing some scattered showers. And then comes the cold front. Yes, the September cold front. There you see it up over Alabama, back through Texas all day today. It's going to make slow progress our way. And then by Sunday, it's going to be close enough where it could help enhance some of the rain in our area. So if you've got planned Saturday, there you can see in the afternoon, very little rain in North Florida. Southern Georgia, you're actually looking pretty dry as well. But that trough line basically is the divide from really sticky air from around it into the south and the dry air in North Florida. So with dry air, it's going to make it really difficult to see any rain on Saturday. Maybe Putnam County could see some showers, but then as the front and the trough kind of converge over us on Sunday, that's what will bring back higher rain chances, but nothing that would likely spoil your plans outdoors, since the showers would be around for a few hours and then pass on by. But as that front weakens, high pressure to the north scoots off the mid-Atlantic and the northeast, and that's going to increase the winds as we head into early next week. That would be our nor'easter. Now let's show you the tropical satellite here. This is the visible satellite, and there are two troughs. One, you can see that line moving to the south. That's an air. It should be back over that upper level low where it started from. But that other dashed line, that is the tropical wave that actually has an area of low pressure. That's invest number 91. That's the one that we're paying attention to, because there's 20 knots of wind in that. So I showed you those two clouds. How come we're not concerned about that first one? That's because that's an upper level low. And you can see how I put those streamlines in at 30 knots or higher. So that's all upper level winds that are causing those clouds, and it looks like something is rotating, but it's not at the surface, it's high aloft. Also over Florida, you see that orange. That is the dry air here, and that's part of the trough that is actually a shield from hurricanes. If we have those troughs always set up over Florida, typically when storms come in from the east, they are deflected and steered to the north, like what we saw with Aaron. So the question is, will that trough be there 2 weeks from now? And no one can say for sure, since models aren't particularly good 2 weeks out. But there are some indications that we might have some troughiness continuing along the eastern seaboard, which would offer some protection. Now, there is a 90% chance of development, not for those clouds over the Bahamas, but for invest number 91. That there you see it over the far eastern Atlantic. So how long does it take for something off of Africa to reach the Gulf of Mexico? Usually almost 2 weeks. This system would be a week out from Saturday from impacting the Lesser Antilles. So we have all weekend, we have most of next week to watch this system track westward. Incidentally, the European model has really backed off on developing this. You can see all these forecast models which do not include the Euro, but the GFS is in there. A few climate models, some beta advection models which really have no skill. They all take it towards the Lesser Antilles. We'd show you the European model, but our system doesn't have that spaghetti plot, so we can't. But what I can do is show you streamlines, and we have that data that comes in, that's the Euro. It would show up as yellow. You can see that all you're seeing there is white. That's the GFS, because the white is the GFS model, which is stronger. The Euro has weakened that system so that it doesn't even really show up as any tight core circulation center there. Incidentally, you see that one line moving up to the north. That is the Clipper. I got to squint here in the monitor. A Clipper model is just a climate model that doesn't have math or physics in it. So when you're looking at these names of models, you can kind of just discredit those. Those are usually good to run before you even have like an invest system or something like that, because it's just based on climate and where that storm is. GFS, there you see Saturday. We're looking at September 13th there. Mm-hmm. So that is a situation where has very little skill this far out, because the models have been swinging back and forth from Florida to the Atlantic. And until there's a vortex, you know, these dynamical models really have a hard time latching on to where something could be, you know, when we're talking 2 weeks out. More importantly, so that's a long ways out. We've got plenty of time to watch. I want to dwell on this nor'easter because we've had problems in the St. Johns River. Water levels have been a foot above normal. Over the weekend, good news is that they should subside somewhat since our winds are going to be light. But as we head into Monday and Tuesday, we're going to see tidal trapping in the St. Johns River basin once more, which will cause the water to push in, and then it's hard for that water to get out, back out into the Atlantic with those northeasterly winds. So every high tide cycle will drive the water levels up a bit more. And like I said, this weekend, winds are not going to be very high, but then let's get you into Monday. Northeast winds start to pick up, but Tuesday and Wednesday, expecting to see some gusts 20 to 30 miles per hour. And then those winds should start to relax based on model data into the middle part of next week, like Wednesday. But they're still going to stay on shore. So that's going to make the water stay pretty high and elevated through the upcoming work week. Saturday afternoon, 2:10 is the harvest full moon. So over the weekend, we're looking at astronomically high tides. And those astronomical features, the extra tug of gravity with the proximity of the moons close to the Earth, will also coincide with that nor'easter event. So you're going to have the meteorological physics and the astronomy driving up the water levels and the waves pushing in. So let's get you into pretty good boating conditions this weekend. And then there you see seas building to around 4 to 6 feet off our coastline, up to 8 feet off the Carolinas. And that is with that developing nor'easter Tuesday into Wednesday. Watch how the seas start to subside by the late part of next week. But another nor'easter, this one is going to be a big, big fetch. The model, this is the GFS Wave Watch 3 model, shows those waves increasing for the following weekend. So that leaves me to believe that if that happens, that would be a hurricane shield for us, because the big ridge of high pressure could likely build in behind an upper level trough that swings off the East Coast. So if there is a hurricane there, like with Invest 91, if that does develop into a tropical storm or hurricane, that trough off the mid-Atlantic would likely steer that system more towards Bermuda. But we'll have to wait and see, because obviously this is 2 weekends out. But it is encouraging to see what would be a third nor'easter after the one we had this past weekend setting up for our area. So we've got the sunshine overhead, and we're going to have mostly sunny skies on Saturday. Slight isolated chance for rain over interior southern zones. And then with that front coming in on Sunday, that's why rain chances will be climbing to around 30% in our southern zones, 40% from Jacksonville northward. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, higher rain chances just because of that nor'easter. That's going to bring in coastal showers, and they'll be kind of peppering the area here and there through the early part of next week. And then, of course, Thursday is up in the air, a little far out there. If that nor'easter weekends, then we'll see some drier conditions start to move in by there. So first thing on your calendar, good weekend. Second thing is the nor'easter early next week. And then the third thing, a long ways off, is what happens beyond the end of next week, when we'll have more certainty on any type of tropical systems out there. All right, we'll take it to black and bring you into the daylight here as I sign off on this Weather Authority weekday.
So were you in the box all the time? No.
So this is what's actually